Hey, what's going on, guys? So a few days ago, or I don't know, maybe it was even yesterday, I created a video called Creating a Mobile-First Responsive Contact Form featuring Grid CSS. And we created the UI, we created a pretty nice responsive form, and I told you that we'd be implementing a backend in another video. So most of the feedback that I got from you guys was to use Firebase, which is a cloud service for a database, for authentication. It's very, very powerful. It's by Google, and I think it's a good solution for our form. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook up that project to Firebase using nothing but vanilla JavaScript. We're not going to use any frameworks. We're not going to use jQuery. I want to do everything in just strictly JavaScript and the Firebase library, of course. So first thing you'll need to do is actually create a Firebase account. It's absolutely free. Just go to firebase.google.com. Once you do that, you can go to your console and you'll have a list of your projects. Okay, so obviously if you just signed up, you won't have any. You can see I have my client panel projects. This is part of the Angular 4 front to back series. But we're going to go ahead and create a new project here, and I'm just going to call this contact form. All right, so we'll go ahead and create that. And like I said, Firebase is very powerful. It's not just a database. It also has authentication. It has file storage. You can upload files. You can see all the different options over here. You have testing. You have all kinds of stuff, notifications. Now that we have this project loaded, if we click on Add Firebase to your web app, it'll give us all the initialization data and give us the script to include. All right, but we're not going to need this just yet. So let's go ahead and close this. And then what I have here is the project that we left off with. So if I open this up real quick, this is what we built. Okay, so it's like I said, it's a mobile-first responsive form. It looks like this on small devices, and then as it grows, it changes a little bit. So we're going to take this and we're going to link Firebase to it. All right, now the link is in the description. It's traversymedia.com/download/responsive form. That's going to be the default. That's what we left off with. All right, so that's what I have here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy those two files, the HTML and the CSS, and I'm going to create a new folder here, and I'm going to call this Firebase Contact. All right, and we're just going to paste those files in. All right, and then we're just going to open this up in Visual Studio Code. So let's see, my projects, Firebase Contact. Okay, now I'm also using a plugin called Dev Server. So if you want that, just go down to your extension icon here and just search for, Live Server. Just search for Live Server and install that if you want it. All right, and we're going to go ahead and just right click and say Open with Live Server. And that should open up on port 5500. Or not. Why isn't that opening? Usually it... Alright, so here's the form we built. Let's actually put it into mobile view. We can make this bigger as well. All right, so what I'm going to do is we implemented animate CSS so that when it reloads, it slides in. I'm going to remove that just because every time it reloads, I don't want it to do that. So I'm just going to get rid of these two classes, animated and bounce in left, off the wrapper. All right, that way that doesn't happen every time this reloads. So let's think about what we're going to do here. So we have to catch our submit. Okay, now we're not actually submitting to a page like we would with like PHP or something like that. We're going to be using JavaScript, so we're going to need an event listener that listens for our submission. We're going to have to add some IDs to our fields so that we can grab the data that's put into the fields, the values of those inputs. And then we need to connect to Firebase, and we need to push onto a collection in Firebase. Okay, that's the gist of what we're doing. And for validation, we're just going to use standard HTML5 validation. We'll just add required to, I guess, to the name and the email is really all that I want to be required. All right, so let's start off here by adding a couple IDs. So we're gonna need an ID on our form. So let's give that the ID of just contact form, and then each input is also going to need an ID. So this will be name. This will be company. This will be email, phone, and message. All right, so now we have our IDs. We also want to add a type to this button right here just to make sure that it's a submit button. So we're going to say type equals submit. Okay, now I'm not going to implement the validation just yet. In fact, for now, I'm going to change the email address to a text just because I don't want errors flying up. I just want to be able to submit, just junk at first just to test things out. So what I'll do, just so I don't forget, is just put a to-do right here, and we'll say validation. All right. So let's go ahead and save that. Now that we have our IDs, let's go ahead and create a JavaScript file to work with. So we're going to create a new file. I'm going to call it main.js. And then we want to link it. So we're going to go down right above the ending body tag and put in a script and a source to main.js. All right, now we're going to need to link our Firebase, but I'm going to just hold off on that. I just want to take care of being able to submit the form and get the values. Okay, then we'll get to Firebase. So let's go to our main.js, and in here we're going to want to create an event listener. Okay, so we'll say listen for form submit. Okay, now to do that, we're going to need to grab the form. Remember, we gave it an ID of contact form, so we'll say document.getElementById, and it had an ID of contact form, right? And then we want to add an event listener. So we're going to say add event listener. We want to listen for a submit event, and then we want a function. Okay, and I'm going to call it the function submit. We'll just say submit form. All right, so now we're going to have to create that function. Let me just toggle word wrap here. I'll make this a little bigger. All right, so now what we need to do is create a function called submit form. All right, and that's going to take in an event. And what we want to do is we want to prevent the default behavior, because when we submit, it's going to automatically try to submit to that HTML page. So we're just going to take that event parameter and we're going to call prevent default. Okay, and then let's just do a console log, and we'll just say 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's go over here and let's hit F12. And let's just submit, and you can see we get 1, 2, 3. All right, so we know the form is submitting. Now we want to get all of the input values so that we can use them and we can ultimately send them to Firebase. So to do that, we're going to use document.getElementById, but I'm going to create just a function to make it a little shorter so that we don't have to keep typing out document.getElementById. So we're going to put a comment here. We'll say function to get form values, and we'll say function, so function get input val, we'll call it. All right, and then this is going to take in an ID. All right, and then all we're going to do here is return document.getElementById, and then whatever that ID is that's passed in. Okay, that actually, you know what, we want to add on .value, because that's how you can get the form, the input value. If we just do getElementById, it'll give us the actual, the whole input tag and everything. We just want the value that's put in. So now let's go up here and let's say we want to get all the values. So get values, and we should now be able to create variables. We'll say name equals, and then we'll use that get input val function, and in here we'll pass in name, okay, because that input we're looking for has an ID of name. So basically we want to do this with all of our fields. So we'll copy that. We have name, company, email, phone, and message. All right, we just need to change this stuff up. So let's say company, email, phone, and message. We also need to change these, company, phone, and message. All right. So let's make sure that we can that this actually works. So let's just do a console log, and we'll go ahead and we'll get the name. Let's save that. And if we go over here and we type in Brad for the name and we submit, you can see down here we're getting Brad. So we're now able to get all of our input values. All right, now this is where we want to start to implement Firebase. Now that we can get the actual values, we need to send them to Firebase. So let's open up, let's go back to, I guess I closed it. I want to go back to my Firebase. And we'll go to our project, which is contact form. And we're going to want to get all of the initialization data. So let's click here. And this script tag, I'm going to grab just that. And we're going to go and we're going to put that in our index.html right above the main.js. Okay, make sure it's above the main.js. The order really matters. It's not going to work if you put it below. Okay, so now that we did that, we want to just grab this right here. Okay, everything that's in these script tags, so the initialize Firebase, you're going to have different stuff here. Okay, all your API keys and everything is all going to be different. And we're going to put this right at the top of this file. Okay, the very top. So this will initialize Firebase for us. Now what we need to do is we need to reference a collection. So in a NoSQL database like Firebase, we have collections, which are kind of like tables if you're familiar with relational databases. And we're going to have a collection called messages. We don't actually have to go and create it. It'll be created on the fly. So what we're going to do is we're going to, let's say, reference messages collection. So we're going to create a variable here called messages ref, and we're going to set that to firebase.database. Okay. And this is how you initialize any Firebase database, but if you want a specific reference or a specific collection, you just do .ref and then pass in whatever the collection, so messages. All right, so now that we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to create a function. So let's go to the very bottom. We're going to create a function to save the message to Firebase, to messages. So let's say function, we'll call it save message. And then it's going to take in all of the different fields. So it's going to take in name, company, email, phone, and message. All right, and then to do this, what we want to do is create a variable here called new message ref. Okay, we're going to set that to messages ref. Okay, now this messages ref is coming from here. It's what we just created. It's the reference to our collection. And we're just going to push onto it. So we're going to say .push. Okay, so we're going to say .push. We'll end that with a semicolon. And then we want to take our new messages ref, or new message ref, and we just want to call .set. Okay, and then inside here we can put in an object with all of our data. So let's say name, we want that to go to name, and we're talking about these values here, which are coming from the input form. We want company, we want email, phone, and message. All right, so what we're doing is just sending an object of data to our messages collection, or our messages reference in Firebase. So now that we created that function, we actually want to call it when our form gets submitted. Okay, let me just put a comment here. We'll say submit form. Okay, so after we get all of our data here, we want to call save message, and we want to pass in all of that data. So company, email, phone, and message. And we'll just put a comment here. say save message. All right, and then what do we want to do after that? So we're probably going to want some way to tell the user that it's been sent, that their message has been stored or sent. But let's go ahead and just test this out first before we get to that. So let's save this and let's go back to our project. I'm going to keep this Firebase open as well, this browser. But let's go to our project here. And let's go ahead and just try to send something. So I'm just going to put just a bunch of crap in here. It doesn't matter. And then we'll click submit. Now we're going to get an error. If we look at what this says, it says permission denied. Okay. Now by default with Firebase, you can't enter data into a database unless you're authenticated by default. So we're not using any authentication to send this contact form. We want anybody to be able to do it. So we need to just do one simple step in our Firebase console. So we need to go to database, right? And we need to go to rules. And you see how we have this rules object. We have read and write set to auth is not equal to null. We just want to change both of these to true. Okay, or at least the right, because that's really all we're doing. If you wanted to create a script or an application where they could actually read the messages, in fact, maybe we'll do that in another video. You would need to be authenticated, or you need to set read to true. But let's just set write to true. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and publish. All right, and then let's go back over here. And let's just reload this or refresh this, and we'll go ahead and just put some crap in here and submit. And notice we didn't get that error. Nothing else happened because we didn't write any code for anything else to happen. But now let's go over to database, and you'll see we have a messages collection. Inside there we have an ID. This is an auto-generated reference ID that Firebase creates, and there's all of our info. All right, so we've successfully made a submission to Firebase. So from here you can manage your messages. We can delete that if we want. And what's really cool is that you can just have this open, and let's actually submit a real name. We'll put in my info. Usually this auto fills. Oh well, I'll just type in. So we'll just say Traversy Media, and email, just say test@test.com. Phone number, we'll just put that. Message, hello world. Alright, so let's submit, and you'll see right here it automatically shows this is in real time. You don't even have to refresh. So you can see that we have all of our data. So it's as easy as that to hook up Firebase to a contact form. Now let's finish it up by adding, we want to add an alert or a message showing the user that, that their data was sent. So let's go ahead and do that. So after the save message, we'll continue on here, and let's say show alert. Now what I'm going to do is go to our index.html, and we're going to go, let's see, let's go right below the H3, the email us H3. And let's see, we're going to add a div with the class of alert. All right, and then in here we're going to say your message has been sent. Save that, and now it's going to always display, and I'm going to fix that in a minute, but let's style it up a little bit. So we'll open up our style.css. Let's go down to the bottom, right above the media query. And we're going to add a class for alert. Whoop, didn't mean to do that. And let's do a text-align center. And let's add some padding. We'll say 10 pixels. We're going to add a background of a green hexadecimal. So that's going to be 79C. So 79C879. And whoop, we're also going to add color white. And let's add margin bottom 10 pixels, and let's actually first of all let's check it out. Okay, so it looks like that. Now I don't want it to be Actually, I guess that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. I wasn't going to center it on large devices, but that looks fine. Now, we wanted to set this display to none, because obviously we don't want this to be displayed when the user comes to the form. We're going to do that through JavaScript. So let's go back to our main.js, and where we have our show alert, what we want to do is we want to grab it. So we're going to say document dot, and we're going to use the query selector function. And what that's going to do is it works just like jQuery. Basically, we can select by class or element. We're going to say we want by the class of alert, and then what we want to do is we want to say dot style dot display, because that's the display property we want to edit, and we want to set it to block, okay, because it's initially set to none, as we just did in the CSS. Now, this will do just fine, but if you want it to go away, then we need to add some more code here. So let's say hide alert after 3 seconds. Okay, so what we want to do for that is use set timeout. So we'll say set timeout, and that's going to take in a function. And in here is what we want to happen. And then this parameter down here, we're going to put a comma, and we're going to say 3000. And that's going to be 3000 milliseconds, which is 3 seconds. So what we want to happen in 3 seconds is we want to, let's grab this, put this in here, and we want to set it back to none. We want to set the display property back to none, so it'll go away. All right, so let's save. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to go back to our HTML, and let's take care of our validation. So we'll get rid of that. And what we'll do is to the name input, we're just going to say required. To the email, we're going to say required, and we're also going to set the type back to email. So now, if we go over and let's make sure this is refreshed, and we'll enter some stuff. So let's say John Doe, company, we'll say 123 design, email, we'll say test@test.com, phone number, just put all 4s, I don't know, doesn't matter. Message, we'll say hello. And submit, we get your message has been sent. 3 seconds, there it goes, disappears. And let's check Firebase. And there it is. 123 design, John Doe, hello, there's phone number and email. So one last thing you may want to do is clear out these form inputs, okay, this data after the submission. So we'll just go right here and we'll say document.getElementById. And let's grab the contact form, and we're just going to say dot reset. What? Like that. And we'll put a comment here. We'll just say clear form. All right, so let's try it one more time. Name, we'll say Steve Smith, company, I'll just say some company. Email address. Let's do test, phone number, hi, and submit. Your message has been sent, everything has been cleared, and let's just check on Firebase. 1 second. Yeah, let's check Firebase. And there he is, Steve Smith. Now, one last thing we'll do is we'll actually deploy this. So we should be able to just upload it to a server. So I'm going to upload it to my traversymedia.com, which is just host. It's a cPanel hosting by InMotion. So what I'll do is open up my FTP. I actually have it right here, and I'm going to go to the root of my traversymedia.com, and we'll create a folder here, or create a directory. I'll just call it test, because I'm going to delete it right after. And then let's see, so projects, Firebase contact. I'm just going to grab the 3 files, bring them over here, and let's go and visit traversymedia.com/test. There's our form. Let's try it out. We'll just say Harry, company, test, email, phone number, doesn't really matter, and submit. Okay, message has been sent. Let's go ahead and check Firebase. And there it is, Harry. So we now have a deployed contact form with a Firebase backend. It's as easy as that. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like button if you like this. Please subscribe and share the videos, watch the videos without ad block, and all that stuff really helps. So thanks a lot, guys. I will see you in the next video. So if you guys really like my videos and you learn a lot from them and maybe you have a couple extra dollars to spare, check out my Patreon page. I'm working on creating special content for patrons. You also get special deals on future courses, and there's even an email support tier for all YouTube videos and projects. To learn more, visit patreon.com/traversymedia.